Hey guys, welcome to Brotherhood Forged.
I'm Joey, and hanging with me is my buddy Paul.
We're just two normal guys following Jesus and trying to lead our families well.
We started this to build a place for real talk, real growth, and real brotherhood.
If you're about faith, leadership, and showing up when it's tough, you're in the right spot. If you like what you hear, hit the share button or leave a review. It helps way more than you know.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back. We got episode 19 here. What we're working to do going forward is kind of from this day for the next 12 months, we're going to have a monthly topic, and then we're going to have the segments of that into the week, probably 2 or 3, depending on where we're going. We're trying to see if we can get some guests in here. We're going to get Amber back in here. So at least 2 or 3 topics a month for the monthly topic for the next 12 months, all in the direction of becoming the 2.0 version of yourself.
We call it version 2.0 because obviously we're always trying to grow. And we're doing the same thing with the podcast. I talk about it a lot. We're learning, we're evolving, and we're making changes. I don't know how else to put it, right? Trying to grow. A lot of talks between Paul and I, and we do talk all the time. We've just realized that we need a little more structure to grow, and we want to have a consistent product to the viewer and to the listener as well.
Yes, as we jump into this one, it's very timely for us as well, because as we go through the evolution of the podcast and what this becomes for us, we're trying to create our new norm of what our schedule and our lives look like. And obviously throw a baby in there for me. It's just, we're trying to figure this out the best we can. So when we bring these topics to the table, it's not that we have it all figured out. We're still trying to figure it out. So the beauty of that is if you want to jump on this with us for the next 12 months, or maybe just at least this month, you're right there with us. And we're kind of walking side by side through this process.
Because Lord knows we don't have it figured out, but we're certainly working in the right direction. And today's goal is to draw a line in the sand. This is who I'm becoming. So before we actually kick it off, I'm going to do what I always do, and I'm going to say a prayer, and then we're going to get going. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here today, Paul and I. We don't want to drift anymore, Father. We want to become the men you've called us to be on purpose and with clarity. Show us where we've been coasting. Give us the courage to define the man that we're becoming. Help us to trust the process, even when it's slow and unseen. And God, remind us that greatness is built in quiet, daily faithfulness. Shape us to become husbands, fathers, and the leaders who lead with vision and strength. We're ready to build something real. And with you leading the way, we know that can happen. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. So as we go through this next segment here, it's going to be some common mistakes or things that we've just experienced or seen others experience as they go through this process of really refining and defining who they're trying to become. First one that jumps out is so near and dear to all of us, I feel like, is waiting until you feel ready. You always wait for that clarity or the motivation of the quote-unquote right time to take action. But the fix for that is clarity comes from taking action. The momentum will happen one step after another. It's the compound effect in real life, really. You build those small things that can trigger over and over and build the bigger thing, kind of snowball effect too. The challenge here for this one is don't try to fix it all. This is something that's going to come up later, but it's take one step each time toward that person you're trying to become. Do one thing that your 2.0 version would do today. Anchor yourself in the morning with a 10-minute routine. Anchor yourself at night in a 10-minute routine. Ask your wife or kids one intentional question this week, but really just take one step of action before you feel like you're ready, because then you will feel more ready after you take that step.
Those were never ready. Thing that I struggle with, this is big for me, is just trying to fix everything at once. Done this over and over. And I know it's not just me. You and I talked earlier. It's probably all guys, probably most people in general. That's where we go wrong. When you're trying to fix everything, like for me, for instance, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5. I'm going to work out. I'm going to read my Bible. I'm going to pray. I'm going to stop scrolling. I'm going to crush it at work. All by Friday. I try to take on everything at once. And you know what happens? I get burnt out. I get frustrated. I give up, and then I feel guilty. And then we slide right back into those old patterns. And anybody that knows me knows that's my story. And I sometimes I'll think, well, that's just me, right? I'm the only guy. Obviously, we know that's not real, but no one else struggles with this. But I know a lot of people struggle with it, and you get tired of it. So kind of think maybe here's the fix. You pick one. Maybe it's your marriage, you work on that, or your mindset, your health, leadership, whatever's been weighing on you the heaviest, and you focus on that. For me right now, that's, well, I'm focusing on two. It's getting my nutrition back in check. Paul and I joining Corey Gregory's thing again. Is it Corey Gregory, right?
Yep. Corey G
Or G
Fitness.
Fitness. And I signed up as well, just because it looks like it's going to fit my lifestyle. He keeps it simple, which I need. And it's something I think I can relate to as well. I just need to start showing up there. And so does other people, right? Each day consistently, it's not perfection, but putting those reps in. Win the day, not the year. Keep it simple and keep stacking those simple habits. And I'm fully convinced that I will reach my next level.
Oh yeah, all about becoming more efficient, man. What's that quote again? It's about overestimating what we can accomplish in a year and underestimating what we can accomplish in 10 years. And we'll talk about this throughout this discussion, but it's about the process. If you fall in love with the process and you commit to a process, you can achieve so much more in 10 years than you try to cram into a year, and it may not actually fit your life. It may not be sustainable. So as you were talking about that, dude, I relate to that so much because it's that all or nothing mentality of like, I have to fix this, 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 this. And if I don't do that, nothing feels right. It's almost like you build it on a house of cards.
Yeah.
You're just waiting for someone to come knock that first card over and the whole thing crumbles. So like you said, man, just pick one. If that's, I don't want to expand too much on this one, but like the guy we talked to, one of our friends in a call, he said, I got to fix all these things. And we're like, dude, each day commit to one thing. Doesn't have to be the same thing each day. Just commit to one thing every single day that you know you can put in your control. Next one that pops out for us is basing your worth on results, whether that be a promotion, a six pack, praise, or a raise, or whatever it is at work. Like if you're so attached to the outcome of it, you're going to lose track of what's taking place, the steps that you're going through, the process that you're going through. So what you really need to do is anchor your identity in the values of who you're becoming, not just what you achieve. So you can't control the outcome of certain things, but you can control how you show up during that. You can control the person that you're becoming based off the way you respond to things, based off the way that you show up. Really just, instead of asking, did I win? Did I get the recognition? Did I hit that target? Ask yourself, was I faithful to becoming the version of myself that I'm trying to become without the applause? And that's a huge shift. I mean, personally, I just went through something where I put myself out there for promotion. I didn't get it. But the win for me was that I put myself out there and I went through the process. And you can be proud of yourself because you can't control who gets the job, but you can control the way that you show up, the way you prepare, the way you communicate, and the way you keep showing up too. Just because I didn't get that one doesn't mean it's over for me. So if I were to put everything into that one promotion, I look at it as a failure. But instead, you frame it to like, hey, this is me being faithful to the version of myself that I'm trying to become, and this is just that next step in the next direction to keep building myself up to that area.
If we could get everyone else on that same path or on that same mindset, wow, people would be so much happier and so much more, maybe not even happy, so much more fulfilled, so much more at peace, because it's not a failure. Like you said, Paul, and I firmly believe anytime a door is closed, another one's going to open. And usually it's a better door. It's a door that's more appropriate. So you learned, I'm sure, learning just by preparing for that interview, that process that you grew, to look at it that way.
And everyone's not going for a promotion. So if you apply this to everyday life for your marriage, instead of none of us is going to have the perfect marriage, right? But you're controllable of that. Did I love today? Did I listen today? Did I serve my wife in a way where she felt appreciated by me? With my kids, did I show up with patience and presence, or did I just provide and protect? Those are things you can control without necessarily fixing or controlling the outcome of it. But you have that choice every single day to ask yourself, how do I need to show up for the version of myself that I'm trying to become?
Here's another one that hits home too, is just trying to do it all alone. So much of my life, I did do that. I did try to do it on my own, and it doesn't work real well. And so many guys have that mentality. Still, like, this is one of the things that we really promote, is learning to lean in on others and stop saying, I got this, I can do it all myself. You know, we isolate, we put a mask on, and inside we're just drowning, man. We're miserable and we feel so alone. But I mean, the fix to that is doing what we're doing right here. You and I lean in on each other hard. It's nice to have. You join a group, join a community of other men, like-minded men, find a mentor. But you can take something from people online or in other communities and learn from them. We're not self-made, but we are forged. So we always say we're forged in brotherhood. and you stop pretending and put that false face away, and then you start growing. But when you learn to open up, the healing does begin. Once
Mhm.
again, that's a good start for 2.0, shoulder to shoulder, but you don't have to do it alone.
It's one of those things too. I think a lot of times people will kind of like bear down and do it on their own. And maybe there are some times where you can do it alone.
Sure.
But how much easier could it be if you were to get with somebody who's already gone through that process and they can help you avoid some of the mistakes that they've made along the way? It just makes it a smoother process for you. You don't have to always do it alone, even if you feel like you need to. We're certainly telling you reach out, be a part of a community, be a part of people. And the mentor thing, we talked about Corey G already. I've been following him since 2012, 2013. I've never met him in real life. Talked to him on the phone twice. It
Really?
was cool that he called me, like reached out to me, but I've been a follower of his workout programs, his mindset stuff. I've never actually physically sat down and talked to him. That's something I probably could have changed, but it never works out. They have an event every year where they meet up called Muscle Island. It's out in Ohio, so it's your area.
Cool.
But I'm shouting out Corey here because we're back at his program. So he's that guy for me that just because I didn't meet him face to face doesn't mean I can't learn from him and have a mentorship from him. So it's big, man.
Yeah.
Next one, this is kind of plays into labeling. It's focusing on what you're not instead of focusing on what you are. So the mistake would be beating yourself up over and over again, especially every time you fall short. The fix here is to really focus on what you're building, not what you're missing. Celebrate the consistency, not the intensity of it. Don't label yourself as a failure. Don't label yourself in what you're not doing. You brought something up earlier where you're saying, I thought it was just me. You labeled yourself right there. I'm guilty of it too, man. I'm not trying to call you out or
That's
do anything like that. But it's where we find ourselves. We're like, well, that didn't work for me. It's just who I am. I'll never be able to do that. That's not the truth though. If you think about the other version of it, where it's like, how might I do that? Really shift your mind to figure out a different way. What you tried may have just not worked for you, but it may just be a different process that you have to commit to. So some tips here are track the streaks, not the perfection. Aim for 80% consistency, not 100% perfection. A lot of times that's like dieting stuff. If you try to go 100% all in, you're setting yourself up. If you can find that good balance, 70-30, 80-20, whatever it is, find a way to make it sustainable, it's so much easier. But I say that as I'm recommitting to the whole process as well. But then weekly check-ins, ask yourself at the end of the week, what did I do well this week? What do I need to improve on and what can I learn from? But don't look at it as like, how did I fail? It's how can I improve? What can I learn from? That 2.0 version of ourselves is not perfect, but we're working to get better every single day.
You mentioned the weekly check-ins, and if you can get someone to hold you accountable on those weekly check-ins. You asked me this morning, did I do my workout yet? Just that type of thing. If I'm holding myself accountable to you, like we have talked about before, and I tell you I'm going to work out today. Now, if I'm just doing that for myself, I may not do it. But if I tell you I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. What are you made of?
There you go.
Drifting back into those old loops. It's like, this is a huge one. You feel like you're just checking boxes. You're just going through the motions, wake up, work, scroll, repeat. You're doing a lot, but you're not really leading your life. You're just going through the motions. You're checking the boxes. I call that kind of autopilot. And it's really tricky. Even on the outside, people can look and say, oh, you're doing a lot, but deep down that you're not doing what you need to do. So for me, like the fix for that is you just pause. You really evaluate, what you're doing. For me, Sunday mornings, I take 15 minutes to reflect. Could be any day of the week, could be any time of the week, but you got to reflect. Okay. And be honest with you. What did I do this week? Did I accomplish the things? Did I get my workouts in? Did I focus on my nutrition at least, like you said, 80% of the time? Or did I just drift and was I in the same patterns that I have been going through? It's an area that speaks to me really heavily right now because I have let myself drift, but it's not about beating myself up. It's about getting real with myself, being honest, having someone like yourself to hold me accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable and getting my butt back on track.
And together, man, that community, it helps too that we're committed to obviously the same stuff. Like we're checking in more often than not and more often than maybe others would. And we're on the same now nutrition plan, workout plan. So like that really helps us. But if it's not the same plan, it still doesn't matter. Like you can still reach out to somebody and have them hold you accountable for certain things. You just have to check yourself as well and not get defensive on it. Not that you or I did, but like for me specifically, when Amber talks about me not being on my phone as much, when she brings that to me, I can't get mad because I asked her for that feedback. That's just a reminder to myself and all of us that if you ask someone for that accountability, don't take it personal because you've asked them to help call you forward. And when they do, it's out of the right place. It's out of love. So some questions that we have for the listeners and for ourselves as we reflect through this. Where am I still waiting for permission? What 1% habit would change the game this week? Who am I becoming when no one is watching? And where do I need to invite others into my growth and for accountability?
I like those reflection questions or those discussion questions you had, Paul, there. And the 1% habit, people underestimate how much just a little bit of a change, 1% each day. What is do you remember the statistics? So if you increase your habit or change 1% each day, at the end of a year, you're like 137% better. Something to that effect. It's astronomical, that kind of a compound interest in real life, right? But that's pretty amazing. And who am I becoming when no one is watching? I think that's really good because we are so hyper focused on what everybody else sees. But we know when we're letting ourselves down. We know when we're not moving forward.
You bring up the 1% thing. It's the statistics are like they're crazy alarming. You talk about the compound effect, but if you really break that down and say I want to get 1% better every day, if you do the math on the hours of the day, potentially from when you're awake to when you go to sleep, it only has to be about 15 minutes. So if you say you want to get better at something, you're going to commit 1% of your day or 15 minutes of your day. That's so small. And we can find that if we really audit what we're doing, scroll less on social media and say, I'm going to commit 15 minutes to reading. I'm going to commit 15 minutes to writing, whatever it is. It's really attainable. And then you can let that compound over time because that 15 minutes every single day for 6 months, 12 months, I'm a criminal justice major, so I can't tell you what that is, but that's a lot more time than it would be if you didn't give yourself 15 minutes a day for it.
15 minutes a day. I'd say 99.99% of the people out there have more than 15 minutes a day that they're burning, they're wasting. I would probably be embarrassed to say how much time I could probably make a change if I'm honest, or scrolling, watching a YouTube video, whatever it is. I have time. So there is no excuse for most people. If you're one of those people that doesn't have 15 minutes, I'm sorry.
You could find it. It's no knock on anybody because we're in the same boat. We do the same thing. It's just like going back to the top of this episode when we're really trying to get crystal clear, draw that line in the sand, say we're going to do this from this point on, then audit where you're doing and spending your time because you could probably find that 15 minutes. But if you just look at it and say, I don't have 15 minutes, I'm not even going to try, then you've already shut yourself down for the possibility and potential of it.
We got a little visualization exercise. So fair warning before you do this. If you're driving, if you're operating heavy machinery, if you're flying an airplane, maybe wait till you're home to do this. Maybe wait till you're sitting in a chair, on your couch, lying in your bed. This is a pretty good one, though. So I'm just going to walk you through it. These visualization things, I think they're really important. I do a lot of visualization myself, and I find it very valuable. So close your eyes. Take a deep breath and just picture yourself where you want to be 1 year from now. Assuming you've been consistent, you've been intentional, and you don't let yourself drift. You're looking in the mirror 1 year from now at the new version of yourself, whether that be 2.0 or however you want to label it. How are you carrying yourself? How are you loving your spouse? How are your kids experiencing you? What are they thinking about you? How do they see you? How are you leading when life gets hard? How are you interacting with other people? Are you reacting? Are you responding? And what's different about your mindset, your habits, and your energy? It might sound cheesy to some. If you really do this, and you can make those prompts whatever is applicable to you. Those are a little generic, but all those would resonate with me, and I think they would most people that are probably experiencing this podcast, because I'm sure we have an audience that those would hit pretty well. But take that serious. Do a visualization exercise every day.
Hey,
That's 1 to 2 of those 15 minutes of your free time that can make a huge difference of where you'll be in a year.
it's powerful, man. If you can't see in your own mind that version of yourself you're becoming, how can you make it a reality? And I think of all the pro athletes that actually go through visualization of how they're going to perform in that game, how they're going to hit the game winning jumper, how they're going to defend the person they're matched up against. There's actually a study of it was field goals. I don't know where it came from. I heard it on a podcast or somewhere. There was one team that like visualized themselves making free throws over and over and over and over, and one team that actually shot free throws over and over and over. It was the team. It was the team that visualized it was either slightly better or slightly behind the team that actually did it. So it's like the mental reps are so important in life, but we often discredit them because they're like, we don't have time for that. This isn't going to work. This is cheesy. But again, if you don't allow yourself to be open-minded enough to it, then you've already shut up that possibility for the potential.
They say your brain doesn't really know the difference between visualization and actually doing the exercise. So you're hurt. You're an athlete. You're hurt. You can't shoot baskets. You can't hit baseballs, but you can visualize what you're supposed to be doing, and it can be just as impactful. I don't know the statistics. I'm not a scientist, but you're absolutely right, Paul. I've heard the same story, and it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a book I read a long time ago. It's called Mind Gym. It's good, but I'd have to, like I said, I'd have to refresh myself before I dove too far into it on here. But it's there. There's actual scientific studies and data that support how positive and how powerful that can be. And one of my workout claim to fames is I once bench pressed 405. If I would have gone into trying to bench press 405, mentally seeing myself failing, I never would have hit that. I had to practice not only getting myself ready for that weight and getting everything into position, but visualizing myself hit it. Because otherwise, when life gets tough, when that bench press gets heavy, you get about halfway up. If you've already visually and mentally shown yourself you're going to fail, as soon as it gets hard, you're going to quit. But if you prepare yourself mentally and visually to see yourself overcome it, then you're going to keep going because you've already seen it. Like you said, the brain doesn't really know the difference. And obviously, physically, that's going to feel a lot different. It's going to feel a lot heavier. But I'm never going to get myself to those points or never get myself to those milestones if I can't first see it in my own brain. Then I won't even believe in myself. So really open yourself up to potential and possibility of what can be. It's big. There's to build off what you said there, man. Here's a couple more prompts. This is a journaling one, so you may need to pause this, kind of work through this a little bit. Give yourself time to write. We don't want to obviously create too much time in here because the time frames on this one, but ask yourself and write this down. I am the man or woman who leads with how do you want to lead? How do you want to show up? The next one is I show up in my marriage by, and then really define how you want to show up in your marriage. I fight for, support, and encourage my family by, then ask yourself how you want to show up in that one. I refuse to tolerate or set boundaries around. Write that one out. And then anchors in my day that help me visually and physically accomplish my goals are, and then give yourself something there to really bring yourself back to all this content.
Those are great prompts. Anyone who doesn't journal, I haven't journaled a ton up till the last couple of years, and I don't journal every single day, but I journal a lot, and it's really helpful to get your thoughts out on page. It doesn't have to be structured real tight. You can just mind dump sometimes on a journal page. I personally use an online journal. It's called Day One. It works for me. Syncs across all my devices. Some people like to write, but my handwriting's so bad that when I write, I can't read what I wrote sometimes. So that doesn't work as well for me. I do like that. We talked about several books on the podcast, so we are going to try to highlight a book on just about every podcast now and just talk a little bit about it and how it's made an impact on us. What Paul and I started talking about doing the podcast not too long ago, 3 or 4 months ago. He had mentioned a book, and we've mentioned the book Chop Wood, Carry Water several times on here. And the author is Joshua Medcalf. He writes in a storytelling manner. It's actually a really light read, but there's a lot of fantastic information. And his focus kind of on this book, The Chop Wood, Carry Water, is all about the process. So we're just going to kind of summarize a couple of chapters as we're drawing to an end. And like I said, we're going to start doing this a little bit more. So what did you think about this particular book, Paul?
Yeah, no, I love it. It's one of my favorites. And to build off what we're doing here, Each month we'll stay committed to that one book, maybe two if we get to it. But the first one for Chop Wood Carry Water, we're going to summarize and talk through lessons and takeaways from chapter 1 and chapter 2. That way, if you guys want to follow along with us and read those chapters, those are super quick reads. I mean, you could even get ahead and go chapter 3, 4, 5 would probably be the ones we talk about next. I'm not really sure, but if you got ahead, then you'd be along with us and we can kind of process things together. Chapter 1 talks about two brothers. It's a lifelong goal of theirs. They really admire the samurai tradition and becoming a samurai archer. And there's a tragedy that happens. One brother, he can't do it. So the other one kind of keeps going through it to honor his brother. But the lessons and the takeaway from that chapter are falling in love with the process. It talks about a lot about when he gets there, he wants to go straight to shooting the bow. Like he doesn't want to waste his time with anything else. And his sensei,
Yeah.
is that what it is?
Sensei.
His sensei talks to him about, hey, this is kind of how you have to do things here. We don't have running water. We don't have heat. So you have to chop wood. You have to carry water. This is the basis of how we get by. It's the process along the way that helps you really become the best version of yourself. Not getting there and just shooting a bow and shooting an arrow all the time.
So you talked about you got to fall in love with the process. And that's what Sensei is really beating in his brain. I guess I don't know how else to put it. And you can't skip the grind and expect to be a master at it. And this is something that applies to not only every sport, but every aspect of life. There was a book that when I was really into playing pool at one point, yes, I've told you the story that the cancer had other plans, but there was a book I read. It's called Pleasure of Small Motions. And it was my first introduction to understanding, just really focus on the process. I learned later that it's the same concept as this book. It's all about focusing on the process and, mastering what you think is boring is what makes the potential of you being a master of your task. So rather than focus on the Super Bowl, focus on your fundamentals in football, right? For so long, I focused on winning these certain events. In that book, although I never really got the concept at the time, what it had you focus on was just your fundamentals, enjoying the game, enjoying your competition, whether you win or lose. It really doesn't matter.
Not overlooking the small things in life because you may think that they're not important or you think they're boring or mundane. It's how you show up for that thing. It's how you show up for everything.
Yeah.
So don't overlook it or don't big time something and say, hey, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to commit to the process. And this is all just part of the process. And even if you don't always enjoy it, just think about where it's taking you. Is that a step in the direction of the person you want to become? And it's more often than not, it is. And it's just one of those things you have to keep repeating and keep going through. Like we talked about the nutrition thing we're about to follow. It's simple, but not easy. It can get boring, but that's where the results come from. Consistently doing the same thing. And if you think it's boring because you know that's the right move, the right decision, the right meal, even if it's quote unquote boring, it's going to get us to where we want to be by committing to the process.
Yeah. The abs, the fitness, the muscles, those are just going to be a result of you focused on the process. But if you're focused on something visual, it's going to, first of all, be miserable. And what if you don't get there? So the pain of building was what they talked about in chapter 2, where John, who is the main character, he gets impatient with his progress. And his sensei, who I think his name was Akira, he taught him that each choice, each attitude is like a brick in the house he's building. And pain, it's not his enemy, but it's part of the construction. There's some takeaways there, Paul. Do you remember those? Or what would they be for you?
Well, the story is cool. It talks about the guy. He has this in several of his books. He pointed out, but the guy talks about he's a famous builder. He's building houses for all these other people. And he wants to retire. And like, hey, we want you to build one more house. And he's like, oh my gosh, here we go. So his heart's not in it, but his head is because he committed to it. But then come to the end, like he shortcuts some stuff. He doesn't follow through with certain things the way he used to. At the end of the story is they give him the key to the house. They say, hey, you're building your own house this whole time. So this whole chapter talks about how you're always building your own house. And like, as you go through life, like the promotion opportunity I brought up earlier, I didn't get the promotion, but that still blocks building to my house. Like if I were to look at that and say, this is a failure, then nothing happened, like then I would be destroying my house. But every single day, based on the habits that we do, we're building our own house. We're building our own life. We're building the best version of ourselves. So it's about showing up every single day, committing to it, committing to the day, the process. Yeah. Even when things don't go the right way, remind yourself of what you're still building. And it's up to you. It's usually often it's a choice. Depending on how you feel, you got to keep building and keep showing up for yourself and for the people that care about you.
You nailed it. And that was a good closing on chapter 2. Like Paul said, we're going to do chapters 3 through 5 or something to that effect. We'll keep talking about this book. It's great. Even if you do the Audible version, it's like 2.5 hours long, but there's so much valuable information. So I'd highly recommend it. Joshua Medcalf, Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Quick reads, quick listens. Each chapter has a great takeaway. Real life application from this one is the marriage thing I talked about earlier. Showing up in the mundane, small, consistent acts will build trust for your kids. As far as fatherhood goes, kids will remember your presence, not your performance. So just keep being present, keep showing up, and keep being there for the people that you care about and the people that care about you. And remember, each day you're building your house, you're building that best version of yourself.
Yeah. Even when no one's watching, keep showing up. That's probably the leadership application of this and the family application. All right. That's all we have for today. We're trying to keep these back closer to 30 minutes because we were getting a little bit long in the tooth on some of those episodes. So my wonderful wife, who gives fantastic feedback, suggested we get closer to 30 minutes. So we will make an effort to get back to there. But once again, just please keep giving us feedback. Like, follow, share. All of it matters.
Join us as we go on this journey of becoming the best version of ourselves too. And every month, like we said, we'll have a new topic and we'll dive into it each month. And you're right there walking side by side with us. So let's just keep showing up and keep trying to get better each day.
Be blessed, y'all.
See you guys. Thanks for listening today. We don't take that for granted.
Your support matters. You're part of something much bigger, and we're thankful you're on this journey with us.
Stay strong, stay intentional, and know you're not walking this alone.
If this challenged you, please share the impact. Growth is better together.
We'll see you next time on Brotherhood Forged.